Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Dominic DeAngelo of Brass Ring Media, but I'm also a part of the One of a Kind with RVD podcast, rvdtv.com, as well as Greg Gagne, Magnum TA, several other things as well. But I'm happy to have with me here a first ever interview I get to do. Welcome LJ Cleary to this podcast platform. LJ, good to have you here, man.
Thank you so much for having me. It's good to be on.
Yeah. So, neat thing, serendipitously, we got to meet up at Cleveland, of all places,
Yeah.
this past weekend, Memorial Day weekend, for Exodus Pro Wrestling at EC3's promotion and everything like that. But you're a full-time, is it citizen at the United States, or how's it work for you now? So you're just based out of the United States. You just moved here, basically.
Yeah. I've just moved here at the mid-February, full-time. Well, I would say maybe 95% of the time. There's still some I'll still do a couple trips back to Europe every now and again, like if there's big weekends on at home or stuff like that. But for the most part, yeah, like Orlando is now my base.
So how has that been for you, the adjustment of that? Was that always in the game plan of yours to ultimately move here at some point or another? Or did that kind of pivot for you, like depending with your relationship, depending on your career aspirations, all that aspect?
Well, no matter what, like from the beginning of like being a fan and then even starting as a wrestler, like I feel you kind of have to, especially being from Ireland, which is just a small country, like you have to leave this tiny place and go to America. Like, it's still to a lot of Irish people, like the United States, it's like, oh wow, like it's this massive thing that like, we watch on TV and movies and it's like they call it the land of opportunity. But like it's real if you want to make a real career, I think, in this. Now there's other places you can go, like Japan and stuff, which I have been. But for me, I always knew ultimately, like no matter what route it took, like you said, like there was a lot of, okay, no, we're gonna go this direction, we're gonna go this direction. Ultimately, in even my longest of term goals, like America was the goal. Like it just made the most sense. Now, did I think it was gonna happen like this exact time period, like a couple of years ago? Maybe not, but I mean, you have to, especially within wrestling, you just gonna have to jump at whatever opportunity. And then as you mentioned as well, my relationship kind of took me this way because my fiance obviously moved here in 2022 when she started with NXT in America, but I was about that was about a year before I started in Japan, so I had to go do that for a while, and it was a couple trips back and forth from Japan to Ireland, so I'd come and have a little 2 weeks here, but that after about a year of being on and off in Japan, like that's when I really started to look at, okay, I think it's time to try and like get over there myself and base out of there.
So what ultimately brought you here what was this made this the right time to come to the United States for you?
I felt my current, like the run I just had in pro wrestling Noah was like, but by no means like is like the door closed. Like I don't think I'll never go back to Japan or Noah. But when I started there, it was October 2023, and then my last tour was January 2025. So like I commit a long time to one place, and it was kind of like the feeling I had before I went to Japan. Whereas we're in Europe, I was like, I'm kind of done here. Like I love it; it's my home, but I'm kind of done. Like I'm ready to for the next thing. And then it was the same in Noah. Like it was great. I'm done, and I was like, but I think I'm done for now. And also the circumstances of my relationship. It actually just kind of happened at the perfect time because you know if things maybe kind of went a different way in Noah, I could have ended up staying there for longer. But it genuinely really felt like the right time. Like at the beginning of my fifth tour at the start of this year, we kind of communicated that this was going to be my last one for a while because I wanted to go and like again like I needed a new environment. Like I needed it. I needed to be out of my comfort zone completely. And it's been a long time. Like Japan was the first one, but like this is the first time in a while that like everywhere is new. Like and I love the challenge of that. Like I really like I feel like I excel in the challenge of the unknown. Like I love that like there might be a couple people that are following me on social media or whatever, but for the most part I'm going out in front of these crowds and all across America, and like I'm like they don't know me, they don't know who I am. Like I have to win them over in whatever role I'm doing, and like I really enjoy that. Like it's a very satisfying feeling.
Well, that's the funny aspect of it all too, because like yeah, you have such a resume already.
Mm,
And the aspect is like everybody saw you on the pay-per-view or
mm.
the PLE, and then it's like you almost have this Clark Kent vibe where everybody was like, "Oh, look at that's the
Yeah,
Lyra's fiance right there." But if you actually knew who you were, like, dude, you're like you have a background and a resume already. Have you kind of had a little bit of fun with that? That whole like people kind of being like what they've been saying online, and then you just kind of being like, all right, I already people don't know who I am already physically and from a persona standpoint too.
yeah, definitely. I did have a lot of fun with it, and again, it was kind of the perfect blend of the people who did know who I was, like, and had supported me a lot over the years. Especially even like from the fans in Ireland that kind of watched me grow up. Like I started wrestling when I was 13, so they really watched me grow up. And then into the fans that I built up over the years and made in Japan when like some of the like funny tweets went up, which like I mean I'm very thick skinned. Like I
Yeah.
chuckled. Like I can honestly say like I saw some of them and I just chuckled. But then to see it was an overwhelming like support. Like it was very, it was a very nice feeling. Like it was those, like I said, those supporters coming and being like, no, like this is who this guy actually is. And then that like blew the lid off to a like genuinely like thousands of new followers that like jumped on, again, maybe like you said, my resume. And like, I'm thankful that I have such a, in my opinion, like I have quite a strong one, that the work speaks for itself, that it wasn't just a case of like, oh yeah, there's that like guy we saw in the crowd at the pay-per-view. It's like, oh wow, like he's a wrestler, but not just a wrestler, like he's I'd like to consider myself a very well traveled and very, very s- sought after, I would say, maybe commodity, especially in Europe and then going to Japan. And I felt like that has, like I said, blew the lid off in the best way possible now. And I feel like people are seeing that, which is obviously the support was, it was very nice. It was a very nice feeling.
And, well, the cool thing is too, it's like it's perfect timing in a lot of ways because it's like you just moved here. Obviously,
Mm,
you're part of that PLE and that aspect of that storyline, but then the whole element of what a debut in the United States, quote unquote, it is
mm-hmm,
for you because it's like the people pull the lid back and there you are, like you're part of Progress, you're part of Pro Wrestling Noah and all that aspect of it all
mm-hmm.
too. So having that kind of introduce you to like the United States crowd is pretty darn neat, actually.
Yeah, no, it was very cool. And then, like you said as well, the thing that I found quite entertaining was the Clark Kent Superman like comparisons, because I was like, oh mate, like okay, I wouldn't like look at myself and be like, oh yeah, I'm like Superman, I'm like Clark Kent as
Sure.
Superman. But I was like, oh no, maybe, because it was only when people would, obviously, like there was the photo of me in the crowd, and then when people would use like one of my like promo shots, I was like, wow, like I actually do look quite different. I just
You
obviously
do.
I don't see that, like I didn't see that, until it was kind of brought to my attention. I was like, wow, like I maybe I do look like a little bit of a different person. It's the wet hair. It's the wet hair.
Was that what it was, you think?
It's the wet. It's like the glass is gone and the wet hair. And
That's
it's a
it.
different person. Yeah. Mm,
Well, talk about too. You started at 13, which is really really
mm,
fascinating. Who were your early influences from a fan standpoint, and then ultimately when you got in the ring, who influenced you greatly
mm.
inside?
Oh man, that's a like I could list so many people. As a fan, I was like, I was, John Cena was my childhood hero. Like I was that audience. I was 6 when the spinner belt debuted, like so, that era, that Ruthless Aggression era, like of John Cena and Batista, especially when I was a kid. And
Yeah,
then even as a kid, like, we had a conversation about RVD, like
yeah,
because I said, oh, I knew you were, because I'm a massive RVD fan, to the point where like I always tell people that I was such as, a John Cena fan. The only time as a kid I was ever happy when Cena lost was when RVD beat him. I was like, oh, it's okay. I was like, it's okay because it was RVD.
yeah,
So people like him, Cena, Batista, RVD, Rey Mysterio, Shawn Michaels, and then as a wrestler, as I started like grow, as I got to kind of, I never like, I always loved those people, like as long as I live. As a wrestler, it was Jericho was like, it's kind of like my goat, because I read Jericho's book. I've read all his books, but A
yeah.
Lion's Tale,
Great
his
book.
first one, to me is like the I heard one of my friends, Von Vertigo, good, very good like Canadian wrestler. He said it was like the Bible for Canadian wrestlers, and I was like, you know what? I think it's like the Bible for wrestlers, like for pro wrestlers, because there's the way it captures the journey of pro wrestling, and then the way the book ends on a cliffhanger,
Yeah.
and it's incredible, and I'll always remember, like I remember closing it, and I was like, I'm gonna be a wrestler. Like I was already like massively obsessed fan. I'd obviously thought about doing it, but it genuinely wasn't until I read Jericho's book that I was like, oh, like I'm gonna do it. Like the way he wrote it was such, like, it genuinely made me feel like I can do anything. And
Yeah.
then so he was obviously massive, and then Zack Ryder and Dolph Ziggler were two huge ones, which I've now been fortunate enough to wrestle as Matt Cardona and Nick Nemeth. Um, in ring wise as well, I absolutely love
Yeah.
Christian Cage. Like I think he's phenomenal. So there's a few, but I could go on for ages. Like when I start thinking about it, I'm like, God, there's so many people.
All
But
right.
yeah, yeah,
No, I could only imagine too, because like as a fan standpoint, it's just like, oh, there's my list. But then too, if you're in the ring and you're like, you're thinking about all the names in that you probably picked and choose from in different aspects and styles,
yeah.
the little detail aspects that go into all of it,
Hmm.
that identity and everything is pretty neat. Something I thought was cool too is just the "Life is Beautiful" thing. Can you explain that in that moniker and
Yeah.
get a terminology for you?
So yeah, like I use the "It's a Beautiful Life," and what that started as was when on shows when I can use, non-royalty free music, I come out to Beautiful Life by Ace of Base. And I've been using that song for years. And initially it was just like, oh, I thought it was a good song. I got it, I watched A Night at the Roxbury, and that song is in it, and I was like, that's pretty catchy. I think I first used it when I was like maybe 17.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so 10 years next year. And then post pandemic, so I was in a trio before the pandemic called More Than Hype, and like we experienced a lot of good success as a trio, had a lot of big matches against like the Lucha Bros, the Rascals. The two guys that were in the group, they stepped away from wrestling, and I kind of felt like I had a little bit of an identity crisis, and I was still using that song, and and I understood why. I completely understood why at this point. People were telling me like maybe you should change it, like maybe you need to change some stuff. And I did definitely need to change some things. That's when I started wetting my hair, and like I changed my gear a little bit. Like I hadn't ever had like an entrance jacket, just little small details. But I had a moment where I remember I think I was flying to either France or Spain for a show while I was like based at home, and I was just shuffling my Spotify, and Beautiful Life came on, the song, and it really hit me. I was like, wow, at the time I was 22. I was like, I'm 22, I'm living my dream job. I was like, wow, like it really is a beautiful life. And then it was a real like, oh, kind of aha moment. And I was like, that's my thing. Like this is what I need to lean into. Because I'd used the name before, like again, living is beautiful life, but like it was just a moniker. It was something to put, on a match graphic.
Sure.
But now I feel from that point, I very much, it's hard to describe. I very much kind of like really leaned into that aspect of this is what I want people. I want people when they see me when I come out of the curtain to be like, oh, I get it. Like I get why that's his moniker. Because as a person, I think I'm quite a positive
Yeah.
person, and I feel like that energy always kind of has exuded off me. And obviously, it's turned up, as they say, in wrestling. Like it's just yourself turned up, and I've really started leaning into it, and it clicked. Like it really clicked. I remember, and like there was two matches where I really felt it. One was it was a show in France. I don't know if it was that one I was going to. It was a show in France, and like when I have the freedom, like I will take ages on my entrance. Like I really like, 'cause like I really love it, and like because the song gets a lot, like gets people really into it. You can clap along to it. Even my royalty free version is very similar to the actual song. That I would have came out to it on Friday at Exodus,
Yeah.
and so I really leaned into that. And so yeah, at that show in France, I remember just really like taking it, and people. And I remember like the match I had in the show was a really good in ring match. Like I remember it being really good, but everyone afterwards was like, "Oh my God, your entrance was amazing." That's what I was getting complimented on. So that was a moment where it clicked. And then another moment where it clicked, where I felt like me having the aha moment of the song and the moniker, and I needed to then bring my wrestling up to it, was when I wrestled Pac in 2022 for OTT in Dublin. It was for the AW. Then it was the All Atlantic title. It's now the international title, and that match was on AW Dark. It was filmed in Dublin. It was on AW Dark, but 2 years before that match was meant to happen, but it got cancelled because of COVID.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
meant to happen March 14th. My birthday's March 12th, and I woke up on my 21st birthday to show is cancelled. We're going into lockdown. So obviously at the time it was like, oh, my life's over, worst thing ever. But after a couple of days, I remember being like, no, like this match is gonna happen. Like I was so like, no, like it just is, it just is. And even like that kind of mentality, I feel, is what made the Beautiful Life thing click, because it is how I am as a person. And then will never forget the day of the match with Pac. Something that, and I'm always like vocal about this, something that I struggled with for a couple of years when I was in the faction was I would be very confident in like my personality as a wrestler. Like especially if I need to go like a little goofy, don't take myself too seriously. Get serious when you need to, but like don't take myself too seriously. Like I was kind of like, we were all good wrestlers in the group, but like I was like the funnier one. Like I could like if a fan yelled something, like I would snap back so fast with something.
Yeah.
But then at periods like that was doing me a disservice, because I was like, oh, like maybe I've kind of killed like a serious situation here.
Mhm.
And having that again, what I now feel is one of my biggest assets is like real like babyface fire, like because I couldn't force it, because
Yeah.
one of the guys in the group was really good at it. So he did it. But when I was on my own, I was forcing it. But I'll never forget when Pac walked out of the curtain, like, and like, he looks the way he does. He's probably the most in shape wrestler of all time, and his wet hair is in front of his face, and he looks terrifying. Like, I'll never forget like the rush that went through my body of adrenaline, because of so many reasons. Like this match was meant to happen 2 years ago. It got taken away. Like I thought about it every single day. This is gonna happen. When he walked out, the rush that went through my body, and I felt like from that day, that was a real, both things clicked. The moniker, the song, what I needed to kind of level up in ring wise. And that was mid 2022. And that's when I really felt like, and at that point in 2022, I'm now 9 years in. But that's when I felt like I'm now really hitting the ground running after already doing a lot of very cool things. So that's my long-winded answer of The Beautiful Life, like how it kind of came to be. It genuinely, this started, I liked that song until I was like, no, like I think this is me. I genuinely think this is how I am. People would tell me like, oh, it suits you, like, because the way you are as a person. And once I leaned into it, and it feels very real. That's what they usually say,
Well,
be
yeah.
authentic.
When I saw you on Friday, I
Mm,
told you too. It's like you already have that like great babyface persona. It's like you
mm,
connected with the crowd that like immediately when you got out of there, and
mm,
the crowd was into it and everything like that. And so, and to your point about Pac too, he's what a great like antagonist it is to your protagonist kind of thing,
mm.
aspect of it all. And I could definitely see how that could really get you like in that right zone of like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm in fully embracing this aspect of it.
Mm,
It's a
yeah.
very good aspect of it for
I can
sure.
literally like I can feel that, like I get goosebumps thinking about it. There's a couple moments in my career, and like in some of the matches I mentioned before, like with Cardona and Nemeth, and like Pac is one of them, where like I can literally, like, it's being like I'm transported back to the moment. I'm really big on like taking it in. Like I coach at home in Ireland. Well, when I was based there, like I would coach across like 3 different schools. That you can hear my accent coming out. Anyone that doesn't know the Irish accent is like, why is T so strong? Um and I always like, I'm really big on like, you need to like really take it in, especially in wrestling. Like I talked at the beginning there, like how much of a fan I am, and I will never like shy away from that. Obviously, there's times you got to be professional, but wrestling is so special that like there's some people I listed that I was genuinely massive fans of, and I think it's one of the only art forms that you get to be in there with people you watched or your heroes or people you looked up to. You can't do that with like basketball players because they retire. But
Yeah.
in wrestling, like there's this weird thing where like, no, this can actually happen. Now you might not think it until it does, but yeah, like that moment, oh, I can feel it still.
I believe it, man. I
Yeah.
believe it. Um, so, so this might be kind of a weird question, but starting at 13, such a young age, obviously for it, and is there any things that made you think that, oh, that this was the right move to start that earlier, or do you kind of go back and be like, oh, I wish I kind of would have started later for a certain reason, or are you happy with how that all kind of panned out?
I'm extremely happy with when I started. Now, I will like make jokes like, "Oh God, I probably would have been a little bit taller because I definitely stunted my growth a little bit." Like, maybe not by much. I think maybe I just tell myself that to like make myself feel better. I'm not
Right.
even I'm not even that short, but like
No,
just
you're
yeah.
height for it,
And
yeah.
I carry myself quite big, so like, and but that's always been something I've tried to do. Like, I'll always be like, no one's ever going to tell me like I'm small because I'll carry myself big. But that's just stuff I'll joke about. And like, obviously my body is a normal level of banged up as you would after doing it for 12 years. But no, I don't regret it at all because my home school is Five Factory Pro Wrestling. That school was NWA Ireland that Finn Balor set up. Finn Balor trained my coach, Phil Boyd, who then took over the school. And obviously everyone's going to be biased towards their home school, but
Yeah.
having been all over Europe and now I'm training a lot over here in America, but in Europe, to me, like Five Factory is by far the best. Yeah, like I said, I'm biased towards it, but it is the best school in Europe. It's a fact. Like it's where the best wrestlers come from. It's like I mentioned, it's where Lyra Valkyria is trained from too. When it was NWA Ireland, it was where Becky Lynch trained, where JD McDonough trained, and Finn Balor school, and then again it turned into Five Factory. Um, so my training was elite from a young age. So by the time when I was 18, I'd already been training 5 years. I had amazing top level training, and so no, I don't regret it at all. Like for that reason.
Yeah, yeah. This might be an obvious question. Is that where you and Lyra met? Is that how you
Yeah,
guys? Yep.
yeah. She started maybe a year and a half after me, so
Hmm.
I was already kind of like deep into it. So again, we're different personalities in the sense that uh she started watching wrestling a little later, not like
Uh-huh.
super late, but a bit later, like in her teenage years. But I'm like the super obsessed mega fan since I'm like a child, like since I can speak. That could tell you like this happened this day, this happened this day, and
Yeah,
yeah. So like that, like our dynamic early on was like was quite funny that way.
I bet. No, I bet. Yeah, kind of that aspect of it all kind of makes you connect a little bit more. If somebody's
Mm,
not as tuned as it as somebody else is,
yeah,
you create that good relationship for sure.
yeah, yeah. That's where we met.
Um, Speaking of training, I got to see that picture a few days ago you posted. You trained with CM Punk. How was that, and what kind of
Yeah,
did he give you?
that was amazing. Like so I train here at a couple different schools in Orlando. I train at A Steels, the foundation, which is where so he's CM Punk's trainer.
Right.
I train at the dungeon with Natty and Tyson Kidd,
Wow.
and I train at Fighting Spirit, which is run by Pete Dunne and the Grizzly Young Vets. But so I just was going training last week, like as normal, and me and my fiance were going, and I don't see so well with that's why I have these glasses, and which is so stupid. I'm 26, like I shouldn't be saying I don't see so well. Like it's bad. I think it was my college. I did like 4 years of like creative digital media in college. I think looking at the screen so much kind of did damage, but
You
whatever.
need the blue things, whatever.
Yeah. And we were pulling in to training, and she goes, "There's someone was warming up outside," and I just didn't really kind of take notice of it. And she was like, "That's CM Punk," and I was like, "No, it's not." I was like, "There's no way." But then I was like, "Well, hang on, maybe because A Steel's his trainer." And then I was like, "Oh, Saturday night's main event is in Tampa."
Oh,
And then yeah, and he was there, and it was amazing. He took part in the session. He trained with everyone. He got in there with everyone, which is very admirable, I think. At the level he's at, to get in there and help people. And then he spoke at the end. I got to ask him a couple of questions, and it was as you would expect, invaluable advice. And you know, hopefully it's not the last time we cross paths in any way.
yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, that had to be pretty cool. And like,
Mm,
no, it's just the resume that you've been talking about, and people that you've worked with and crossed paths with. It's
mm.
you definitely, I'm sure, have learned a lot, and probably like too. Do you find that you're what is some aspects that you kind of want to learn a little bit more of, or that you think you can kind of improve on in a lot of ways too?
Well, now it would really be because it's hard to learn this until you're kind of in it,
Uh
but
huh.
like TV wrestling, like
Yeah.
that would be the thing because like, and I've talked to so many people about it that like it's hard to learn that. I was speaking to Finn Balor about it at Backlash, and I was kind of trying to pick his brain on like how like because it's a lot of schools won't train it because how can you train it? Like it's you got to learn how to wrestle live TV on live TV. That's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
um there's obviously you're picking up so much advice, but that's what kind of for me would be the next step. Like I loved the training I did in Japan for the year and a half. That's obviously it's very intense dojo. Like especially my first tour, I did like for 8 weeks. I did the young boy training every day, like every morning, like, and it's tough, it's grueling, but it's part of the experience. So being here now, that's kind of what I would like. It's a lot of these people, like obviously I mentioned Grizzly Young Vets and Pete Dunne. Pete Dunne is the WWE. Grizzly Young Vets are with AEW, and they worked with WWE. And Natty and TJ, obviously, they're who they are. And then Ace works with TNA. So like getting that knowledge is what I'm kind of craving at the moment.
absolutely. Yeah, it's so many different minds and different
Mm.
styles too that you get somebody like that has the television aspect, like a CM Punk coming into
Yeah.
play, and like you're learning some unique things, I'm sure, from like a Pete Dunne or anybody
Hmm.
like that. You
Yeah.
pick music from and make it your own kind of thing is the neat aspect.
Yeah.
Lyra has been making a lot of her stuff her own too, I think, on
Mm.
television as the rising baby face and stuff like that. From that aspect of it all, what do you think fans can kind of embrace a little bit more from Lyra as she grows as a star and kind of gets bigger too, that about?
Well, I think it's kind of being seen a little bit now with that she's gotten like more time on the mic, especially in this feud with
Mhm.
Becky. Like I think people are really saying, oh, like she's a very competent speaker, and which she is. I think people are really catching on to that. But when the time comes for like I feel the biggest asset from our school that they teach at home is like be versatile. Like I feel like it's my biggest asset. Like be versatile, like be whatever is needed on a show. And obviously now she's in, always kind of underdog babyface role and absolutely smashes it. But when the time comes for her to, maybe portray a bad guy or whatever, like I think that's gonna be a very strong point that people are gonna be really impressed with.
Yeah, yeah, I can
Mm.
tell that too because it's just like if you're good at being a babyface, you're going to be even better at being a
Yeah,
heel. I think a lot of the times, which is
for sure.
so. All right, I'll let you go with this. Your favorite aspect about being in the United States right now, like some not non-wrestling related, and then
Oh,
your least
no.
favorite aspect. How about that too?
Both non-wrestling related.
Both non-wrestling related.
Well, least easily in Orlando is the heat. I don't like hot weather at
Yeah,
all. Um, at all. I'm from a cold country. I like that climate, so that. Um, my favorite thing, honestly, now, and this is maybe a bit more of a personal answer, just net being able to live with my fiance after the 2.5 years apart.
yeah,
Like when we finally, and it's rare because we're both so busy. Like she's obviously, a WWE champion, and then I have weekends like the weekend I just saw you where I'm all over the place. Like
right,
I have a weekend coming up, it's in 2 weeks where like I'm in San Francisco Friday, and then I fly back to Miami Saturday, then I'm in Clearwater I think on the Sunday. Like, and so we're both still so busy, but when we have the downtime together, you know what I'll tell you, I really like the cookies here in
the
Orlando. I
cookies.
really like the cookies, yeah, because so we're like sweet tooths. Like we like when we have downtime to
Yeah,
enjoy a sweet treat. And I was so taken back when I first came here by like I was like, hang on a sec, there's no way I could justify paying $20 for 4 cookies. But it's like, no, you have to try them. And then I tried them and I was like, well now I'm sucked in. So it's a problem. So
wait. So, what's your favorite type of cookie then?
so there's two that we get here. We either go crumble or night owl, and it kind of just depends on the mood that we're in. The
Yeah.
night owl ones I think are a little nicer. They're
Oh,
all because they're all big and gimmicky and like
yeah.
red velvet and Oreo cheesecakes and all. It's so funny. Like someone's gonna listen to this, being like, "Oh, I can't wait to hear him talk about like Noah," and then it's just me being like, "Oh, this
No,
cookie
it's
is yeah."
cookies. How about do you like donuts? Do you got a favorite donut or anything?
I'm not a massive so that's one that like America for me just does too much. It's too big. It's too.
It's too
I like
much.
I would rather like a simple one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not a massive. Just give me like a. No, I actually can't. Like I could say donut, but they're all from home, so none from here.
None,
Yeah,
none yet. No.
yeah, yeah.
There's some good spots. Vegas has a good spot called I can't remember what it's called. But Philly,
yeah, I remember seeing this some in Vegas. Yeah.
something I can't remember what it's called.
Mm,
They got some good gourmet donuts, but
mm,
they are heavy duty. They are a little much, I will say.
yeah.
Oh man, yeah, you got a lot of good stuff to experiment with here, though.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll tell you that much.
Mm.
But cool. So anything you want to plug? Want to promote anything you have upcoming, or what you have on your agenda? I guess.
I guess if anyone wants to follow me, LJ_Cleary on X Twitter. I was gonna say, it's Twitter. Like I still call it Twitter. It's like, do I have to say X officially? Twitter and Instagram. I just launched my Pro Wrestling Tee store, which is in the links to my Twitter and Instagram. There's I think it's a very funny Clark Kent into Superman it's me into LJ Cleary comic book T-shirt design on there that I just released a couple days ago. I am busy. Like again, like there's too much. I'm like, oh, what do I have? Like there's so much that I could to plug. So just keep an eye on my social medias to see where I am. I'm very active online. And then if you are someone that has watched me and thought, oh, well, maybe you've enjoyed it, I would check out more Irish wrestlers because I've been fortunate enough to train a lot of people. So check out OTT, check out Fight Factory Pro Wrestling. So Fight Factory uploads most of their shows up onto YouTube for free, and then OTT uploads a lot of their matches for free too, a lot of their big matches. Yeah, just support some Irish wrestlers. You never know, you might find some gems in there, which you will, because like I know there's a lot.
Well, that's the cool thing too about today's wrestling is like, if you go back maybe like even 15, 20 years, there's still that almost dichotomy of like, oh, American wrestlers
Yeah.
and the international wrestlers. But now it's just being more embraced and everything like that. And it's like you guys and gals are getting more opportunities to convey personalities and aspects of it, which I think is great. It's a great thing that's all encompassing. So very cool. It's been a great conversation, LJ. I'll love to get you back on at some point.
Anytime. You just let me know. Anytime.
Okay.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, brother. Maybe one of these times we can get you an RVD connected as well. So
you probably see it in my face there. Like that's the stuff where like the fan comes out of me. I talk to you about it. Like I mentioned this scene at RVD match. Like I am a massive I was on a show at RVD a couple of years ago, and what was very cool about it, it was for OTT. It was in the National Stadium where OTT runs like their biggest shows. Is where I wrestled Cardona, which just got put up on YouTube for free. That's my favorite match I've ever had. There's a great backstory behind it. And then where I also wrestled Nick Nemeth. But that I went to watch TNA there the month before I started training, and I went to see RVD. There's a picture of me somewhere online with Dixie Carter, and I'm wearing an RVD t-shirt. Like I remember I bought an RVD t-shirt for that show. So to be on the same show as him 8 or 9 years later in that, arena was unbelievable. So that would be great. I would be definitely down for that. Yeah.
Heck yeah, manifest it. We'll manifest it. Make
it
happen. All right, guys. Cool. Well, thank you, LJ Cleary, and thank you all for tuning in to Brass Ring Media. We'll see you next time.